morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of TCGRadio. So today, we need to look at a new Cinccino card. You see, the lovely Antoine Boulet, who we all know by now is a very lovely person, one of our very favourites, went and tweeted out a picture from the new version of it's actually the Pokemon TCG rulebook, presumably the one given out in theme decks and such. And this image of the rulebook features a card, and it shows you all the information, etc, etc. And what's extremely interesting about this is that there's a Cinccino that we haven't seen before. So why am I rushing to bring you this Cinccino when there are other cards we could be talking about? 'Cause it's really, really good. There we go. So this Cinccino then, we got a translation obviously from Antoine. And what we see is a 90 HP Pokemon, which is low, but not low enough to use Professor Round's lecture. That will be relevant in a moment. And we got a weakness to fighting, which is expected with it being a colourless Pokemon. And no resistance. And being a colourless Pokemon, you don't have any extra tricks. You're not hitting for weakness or any of that rubbish. It's slightly disappointing. The basics here are not particularly good. However, it might go down as the best Cinccino ever. And I speak as someone who played a lot of... There's actually the very first Cinccino we ever got, the one from Black and White, because do the wave 20 damage for a double colourless energy for each of your bench Pokemon. Why am I so excited about this Cinccino? It's got trade. It's literally got Zoroark's ability. Once during your turn, before you can attack, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. It is literally trade. And I shouldn't really need to tell you how good trade is as an ability. Now, just like with Zoroark, there's nothing to say that it doesn't stack. Ergo, it does stack. So what we see here is essentially the possibility of just going, right, discard a card from my hand, draw 2. Now discard another card and draw 2. Now discard another card and draw 2. Now discard another card and draw 2. And okay, you're having to discard 4 cards, although obviously every time you discard, you've got the cards you previously drew. But you essentially end up drawing 8 cards. Now when you bear in mind that Professor Magnolia, which is essentially just a reprint of Professor Juniper, to stick with the whole Gen 5 thing, is the most aggressive supporter card we've got, and we're sitting there with 7. You're seeing the top 7 cards. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. You are seeing a lot of cards here. And that really is the giant bonus. You're seeing a huge amount of cards. That's what's so good. If anything you need is in the top 8, you're going to draw into it. It is consistency unlike any other. Now, when the Silvally from Cosmic Eclipse was revealed, I likened it to Zoroark, and I make no apologies for that. I have no regrets. They are both Stage 1 Pokemon, they've both got 210 HP, they're both weak to fighting, they both do 120 for 2 colourless energy, essentially, and they've both got an ability which helps you to draw extra cards. And they've both got a retreat cost of 2. They are obscenely similar cards. But when it comes to the ability, this is better a lot of the time. You see, the thing with something like Silvally is you're drawing till you got 5 cards in your hand. Well, how many people were playing Octillery over Zoroark? We had both of those abilities, and Zoroark saw more play. Now, to be fair, Zoroark was always a really good attacker, so it's not the fairest comparison, but Zoroark also gives up 2 prizes, so... The problem with drawing till you got 5 cards in your hand is that in order to draw 2 cards, you've got to have 3 cards or fewer in hand. You cannot just stash cards in your hand. You've got to consistently try and lower your hand size, which means getting rid of cards you might not want to. And then, of course, there's every possibility of using it over and over again. You can reuse Silvally's ability. The problem with trying to reuse Silvally's ability is that you've got to constantly lower your hand size. And that's incredibly awkward. Whereas here, you can just build your hand size over and over again, consistently drawing more and more cards. That is why this is so gosh darn good. The real question, of course, becomes, is it better than what we've already got? And the comparison we've already seen a lot of people making is, well, Pidgeotto. Okay, they're both stage 1 colourless Pokemon. Pidgeotto lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and the other on the bottom of your deck. And Cinccino lets you discard a card from your hand and draw 2. So both of them, you're constantly seeing the top 2 cards of your deck, and they're constantly cycling, and both of them you're essentially losing a card. Pidgeotto goes on the bottom of your deck, Cinccino discards. Now, the discarding could be really good if you're playing something like Naganadel and want energy in the discard, as an example. But otherwise, they are kind of similar, except they're not always similar. Here's the big advantage Cinccino's got. I discard a card that I know I can do without, and I draw 2 random cards. The thing with Pidgeotto is, let's say you really need, let's say a rare candy and a triple acceleration energy. If my top 2 cards are rare candy and triple acceleration energy, I'm getting one of them and I've got to put the other one on the bottom of my deck, so even if I use another Pidgeotto, I know I'm not drawing into it. Whereas with Cinccino, I'm just drawing those 2 cards. I think Cinccino's ability is better than Pidgeotto's, because I like the idea that I am keeping both the cards that I see, rather than running the risk of seeing 2 cards and only being able to have one. Now, the counter argument is that with Pidgeotto, I don't need to already discard a card from my hand beforehand, but you've got the certainty of what you're discarding. The other argument I've seen people make is, well, Professor Elm's Lecture. You can search out Pidgeotto using Professor Elm's Lecture, making it more consistent. And on the one hand, I agree, and on the other hand, I think there are 2 important bits of information we need to look at. Number 1, Espeon and Deoxys. Espeon and Deoxys has been destroying decks that have been relying on Pidgeotto, like absolutely wrecking them. Because the big version of the GX attack lets you drop 20 damage counters, that's 3 Pidgeotto with 2 damage counters left over. Cinccino, they can get 2, but they can't get 3. It's got more staying power. The other thing is, we're not in the same format, or when these come out, we won't be in the same format. We're going to have Quick Ball, which is really good for searching out your basics. And we're going to have Evolution Incense, which is really good for getting your evolved Pokemon. We have been in a format since rotation where we just cannot search out our Pokemon very easily. That is not the format we're going to be in when Sword and Shield is out. We're going to have significantly better options for searching out our Pokemon. So we're kind of cool here, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly think Cinccino is better than Pidgeotto. Even if Pidgeotto is a little bit better, Pidgeotto is great. I think Cinccino is better. I think Pidgeotto looks better now when you look at the cards we've got. But I think if you then look at the cards that we're going to have, and the fact that we're going to have good item cards for searching out Pokemon again, the how do we search it out becomes less of an issue, and we're good to go. Now there is an attack here, and the attack is actually pretty good as well. 1 colourless energy, and you do 40 damage, and you attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. It's actually pretty good. Now, 40 damage is actually very weak. You'll get Ditto Prism Star, which is nice, but you won't really get much else. But it's just accelerating energy. And I like the fact that you're accelerating any energy you like. That's kind of nice. It's reminiscent of cards in the past like Yveltal or Raikou or a whole bunch of Pokemon that have done this kind of thing. But we're not really in that kind of format at the moment, and maybe we'll come back to it. But as it stands, I'm a little bit hesitant. I'm a little bit worried about how good this is going to be. Because remember, you put an energy on Cinccino to accelerate 1 energy. So if Cinccino lasts for 1 turn, you've attached an energy to accelerate an energy. You might as well have just attached it to the Pokemon instead of Cinccino. But you can accelerate any energy you like, and it's fine in a bit of a pinch. On a basic Pokemon, this kind of attack is way better, because if you've got an evolving deck, you can use this before you can get evolutions rolling. The issue at the moment with this is that we're not a basic Pokemon, which means you've got to take a turn to evolve Cinccino before you can use this attack and start accelerating energy. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that's a little bit of a problem. I think as an energy accelerating Pokemon, it's probably just a little bit too slow. So keep it as a handy bonus. The fact of the matter is, the vast majority of Cinccino players are just going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 Cinccino, whack them on the bench, and just draw a whole bunch of cards. Is it as good as Zoroark? No, it's not as good as Zoroark, because Zoroark had a lot more HP and was a good attacker. So you could play Zoroark as your attacker and as your draw engine. Cinccino is your draw engine, you'll need another attacker. But that doesn't mean it's not a phenomenal card, and I'm just going ahead and giving it 5 Wossies. I really do think this is a brilliant card that is going to see a lot of play and make an awful lot of people very happy. If we were getting this in Cosmic Eclipse when we didn't have the good Pokemon search, I would be significantly more reticent to gush over it, really, because I'd be going, well, it's great if you can get it out. But the fact of the matter is, I think we are going to be able to get it out, so I think we're good, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're good. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think. Are you super excited? Do you think it's here to save the format? Or do you think we're all just going to play Pidgeotto anyway? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.